Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Zach from Classroom Comics, where all panels are created equal. Back again
Damn, Daniel.
another Daredevil video. Told you I was going to be making a lot of them, but so what we're going to talk about today is the Daredevil live action possibilities and what I would do if I was pitching for the new Daredevil show. If I was to talk about what direction I would go in with the characters and the story and Daredevil himself, what would I do? Now, let me preface this by saying I'm gonna basically say if we were to keep the same cast, hopefully bring back Ben Urich, only season 1 of Daredevil be canon. Basically, that's a good adaptation of Man Without Fear, which is the origin of Daredevil. So I feel like it would be perfect for them to just start there and then expand out. So if you were able to do that, and we would start with the first movie, what I would do is start with Miller's Daredevil run, and we would do Gang War. What Gang War does is kind of flesh out Wilson Fisk and his relationship to Daredevil in general. So I feel like if you're going to do that, you can kind of use that arc and start introducing Kingpin to the rest of Marvel New York. And what you can do is expand out from Hell's Kitchen and kind of give an idea of what it's like on the street level. We kind of see with Spider-Man.
Hey! You're that spider guy on you!
He fights a lot of like big name villains, and I feel like we don't get too much on what actually happens on the inner workings of the city. And I feel like that's a perfect opportunity for them to do that, especially if they're doing a movie trilogy. You can have Bullseye being Kingpin's bodyguard, so it'll be perfect for him to come in and be part of the Daredevil mythos immediately. And in my opinion, throughout this movie, you can kind of build up Karen and Matt's relationship, because we already have a season of it if we're saying that that's canon. And then you look at the other seasons, and while you can't directly take them into account as MCU canon, I think you can use them as kind of another iteration of the character where you're getting that relationship. You understand their dynamic. And if you were able to do that and build up to the end of this movie to where Bullseye actually kills Karen, it kind of does set up a whole darker side of Matt's worldview, and something that the MCU I think hasn't really got to attempt yet. And Daredevil's the perfect character to do it with. A real psychological deep dive into a superhero that does have consequences that do affect him. And going into the second movie, you can have this movie be the Elektra saga. Introduce Elektra and have this follow the comic exactly. And throughout this whole movie, have Kingpin hire Elektra and have them working together, him rekindle his lost love, kind of helping him cope with the loss of Karen. And then by the end of this movie, have Bullseye come back and kill Elektra. And you have that whole plot line of Matt having something to kind of distract him from Karen's death and kind of make him feel good again, and that's taken from him. And then you can still go with the whole resurrection plot line, have Elektra come back at the end of the movie with a big flashy fight between Daredevil's stick and the hand, and then at the end have them have their revelation where they realize they can't ever be together, the star-crossed lovers just never being able to be together. And I think that's perfect. And then at the end of this movie, if you really want to go that far and shake Matt to his core, you could have Matt's ID released and everyone find out that he's Daredevil, or at least have them make them think he's Daredevil or suspect him. And then go into the next movie, you can kind of adapt Bendis at this point and have the FBI digging into Matt, trying to find out if he's actually a superhero. And if he is, that's an obstruction of justice, and he's facing a lot of consequences for his actions at that time. And throughout this, have the FBI chasing him, and then maybe introduce another character like the Punisher, or even someone else like Bullseye. And I think this movie can really be big with Matt, because you can kind of bring it back full circle, talk about how he never got over Karen Page and how it was just a death that he could never move past. Elektra distracted him for a while, but it didn't actually help him solve the problem. And I think you can also in this movie have a big culminative movie, kind of like how the Spider-Man trilogy is, and have the other heroes of Hell's Kitchen like Luke Cage, Danny Rand, Jessica Jones, and have all these characters come together, even Spider-Man, come together in one big movie and one climactic ending to the trilogy. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into what if I was to make a Disney Plus series, and I think this is the better option for Daredevil, because he has a lot of intricate storytelling that I think movies can't really portray as well as a TV show. And I think the Netflix series actually shows that they can really deep dive when they have a TV show with a lot of episodes, that you can get a lot more content stuffed into those. It's just a matter of having the right budget behind it so you can get quality type storytelling. So if they were to do 5 to 6 seasons of a TV show on Disney Plus, I think I would do the same thing. Have season 1 be canon and bring back Ben Urich. And then season 1 have Gang War adapted just like in the movies, and have Wilson Fisk and Matt's dynamic built up, bring in Bullseye. As far as my feelings on the Bullseye from the Netflix show, I don't dislike or like him necessarily. I think he was good for the adaptation that he was in. I would be excited to see what he would look like after that operation he was getting after season 3, but we never got that. So, but that guy was pretty good. So if they bring him back, I wouldn't be mad. I would just like a little bit different portrayal of Bullseye. But anyway, I think in season 1 you bring Bullseye in, you kind of flesh out Hell's Kitchen, maybe bring in a character like Jessica Jones, have a Spider-Man appearance. I'm not sure. Just to kind of flesh out the area and get people so they understand what it's like in Marvel MCU rather, New York. And then season 2 you can do Born Again, I think, because like I said, we already have so much content with Karen. I think we understand his relationship and how much she really means to him. I think if you flesh that out during season 1, it really leaves that door open to do the death of Karen Page pretty quickly. So after Born Again, you have her and Matt develop that relationship and then really get to a point where they're really together and they feel together. And then in season 3 you do the death of Karen Page. And I was thinking for this run you could kind of pair it with Brubaker's run and some of the things that he does within that, because it's a lot of character building with Matt and his life as a lawyer as opposed to as Daredevil. And I think that's important to Matt as a character. So having that along with the death of Karen Page and have a big culminative fight at the end with him and Bullseye where he can't save her, I think would be perfect. And then at the end of that, after coming out of that, Matt can declare himself Kingpin and kind of play into that Bendis storytelling and how Matt feels in the moment and how he's lost everything. So he just decides he needs to protect his neighborhood and he needs to have his turf. And that goes into season 4, The Fall of Matt Murdock. Similar to Bendis' run, you can kind of have the FBI investigate him and his identity. You could also bring the Punisher in, I think, as a possible antagonist, someone to show Matt what his city has become and what he's allowed to happen in his city. And I think that will be a moment that will really resonate with Matt. So you have that mirrored with the FBI going after him and going after him for his identity, and whether he approaches it with a smugness like he does throughout some of it, or whether he is stressed the whole time. I think either one would work, but I think as long as it's Matt Murdock, I think it would be great. And then season 5, I think would be great to do the Elektra saga. He's coming out of all this depression and all this hard times that he's gone through with the FBI and dealing with the Punisher and his identity, and then have the Elektra saga kind of bring him out of that and make him distracted from all that pain that he just gone through and start to heal him a little bit. Have Elektra die and then have Bullseye kill her. You can bring him back from the previous seasons whenever he was relevant. So the death of Karen Page and then Gang War, have him come back again because he's such a prevalent villain in Daredevil comics. When Bullseye shows up, you know the arc's about to be gas. So to me, I think it's important to have him throughout the show and then have her resurrected and have that moment where Daredevil realizes he can't be with Elektra and Elektra leaves. It's really emotional and a heart-wrenching moment for them. And then season 6, if you were to get to season 6, you have a Wade Daredevil run where Matt is kind of decided that he's going to be happy no matter what. Even if he's not really happy, he's going to do what he can to have that positive outlook and have this season kind of come from that storytelling. You can pretty much pick anything from that run. Wade's run is amazing. Even Soul's run, I think. If you took Muse and had him be the antagonist of that would be awesome. Muse is so cool. And then as a little bonus, I just want to say, I think it'd be cool if season 7 we have Elektra as Daredevil and a Zdarsky run adaptation, but whatever, that's just me. But anyway, that's going to be what I think as far as the live action goes. If you guys have any questions or have anything you would like to add, say it in the replies. Like I said, just keep the cast the same and the first season be the canon, because that's a perfect adaptation of Man Without Fear in my opinion. So yeah, other than that, this is Zach with Classic Comics. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and later.